quarantine demands rejected. Australian Open COVID cases climbing. 72 players now in quarantine as Novak Djokovic is calling for restrictions to be eased. Victorians finally given the green light to come home as border lockouts are wound back. A slow return to the office and public transport as the CBD starts to open up to workers. A dramatic arrest over a family tragedy, a man accused of killing his brother. A Rowville teacher remembered as a selfless hero after she drowned trying to save others. And Vic the Greyhound home safe after a Bentley family's double ordeal.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Victoria is standing firm on hotel quarantine for tennis stars after world number one Novak Djokovic issued a list of demands calling for less time in isolation and private housing. The push came as the number of players in quarantine jumped to 72, with 4 new confirmed COVID cases.
Not wearing a mask in the players' minibus, the world number one issued demands on behalf of all quarantine players as he trained in Adelaide. Basically, he says the rules are too tough. He wants Tennis Australia to move some to private homes with courts, to reduce the days in isolation, to let players visit coaches and to provide better food.
People are free to provide lists of demands, but the answer is no.
It's my boyfriend.
In a social media post from their hotel quarantine, Bernard Tomic's girlfriend complained about the food and other hardships.
When you do order your food, they have to inspect it, and I don't know what the hell they do. By the time the food comes to you, it's so cold.
But they and other players can expect little sympathy from Victorians.
This is the worst part of quarantine. I don't wash my own hair. I've never washed my own hair. It's just not something that I do.
Victorians have copped this as much as anyone in the world, and it's for them really to reflect on some of the privileged positions that others might have with respect to how their quarantine plays out.
Today, 4 more from the tennis entourage tested positive, including, for the first time, a player.
Bites are very useful.
72 players deemed close contacts are now in hard quarantine. Almost a quarter of the Australian Open field not allowed to leave their hotel rooms for 2 weeks. Among them, some big names. Victoria Azarenka, Sloane Stephens, Kei Nishikori, Angelique Kerber, last year's winner, Sophia Kenin. The tone of most players' social media posts today more about coping than complaining. The Premier insists they knew this could happen.
The notion that people weren't briefed, I think that argument really has no integrity whatsoever.
And once again, no apologies for the hard line.
Whilst the event is very important, nothing is more important than making sure that we follow public health advice and keep the state safe.
Nick McCallum is at the Grand Hyatt where players are in quarantine. Nick, you have breaking news on those 4 positive cases today.
Yes, Peter, they are all male. 3 are in their 30s, 1 is in his 50s. They bring to 6 now the total number of people associated with the tournament who have tested positive. And we're also hearing tonight there will be a telephone hookup between Tennis Australia CEO and the players in hotel quarantine. And we're also being told that many of the players will use it as an opportunity to vent their anger. Peter?
Nick McCallum at the Grand Hyatt Hotel, thank you. There's good news for stranded Victorians locked out of the state. As of 4 minutes ago, many of them can finally come home. Charnel Vella is at Melbourne Airport with details. And Charnel, they've been in limbo for days.
Well, they certainly have, and some of them will fly into Melbourne tonight, but there's only 1 flight arriving before midnight. Tomorrow there will be 6 flights. One of those is a new service added by Jetstar in the last few hours, and that will run for the next 7 days. As for Qantas and Virgin, they say they are going to monitor demand to see if they need to add new services because not everyone can come home just yet. After 18 days of our border being sealed shut,
25 of the 35 Greater Sydney local government areas will move from red to orange at 6 p.m. This evening.
that means while most of New South Wales remains an orange zone, there are now two big changes. The Greater Sydney red zone has been reduced to 10 local government areas and major border communities become green zones.
You can travel back, you'll get an automatic permit, you can travel back and you must get tested and isolate until you get that test result, that negative result.
But it's not that easy for Victorians who remain stuck in hotspots.
I'm just getting very depressed. It's just not right. I just want to get home.
There are still going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of Victorians stuck in Sydney who won't be able to get home.
The government says red zones could switch to orange in the coming days. Today, New South Wales recorded 8 new cases, while our streak of 0 continued.
12 donut days is fantastic. A dozen donuts really means that I'm quite confident that we're on top of this.
Just in time for
Welcome to work.
50% of private sector employees and 25% from the public sector were allowed back in their offices today.
People who have been using public transport have certainly noticed more people on their trams and trains.
But some pedestrian data showed much lower figures than expected.
I was highly shocked that there were so few people on the train.
It's good to be back. We're only going back one day a week, so this is a gentle transition.
And as for city restaurants hoping for a lunchtime rush.
Not as much as we'd hoped for. So with a lot of people coming back to work, I think it's been more a slow and steady rollout rather than a lot of people coming back all at once.
I don't think we're going to see a situation anytime soon where it's 100% of people at work physically 100% of the time.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Our senior police have rejected claims they're going soft on COVID breaches. Despite an internal memo suggesting fines wouldn't be enforced, tens of thousands of people will still have to pay up.
Confrontation leading to confusion.
Get off of me!
Mixed messaging from police over COVID fines. An internal police memo had suggested that tens of thousands of fines should be wiped.
A guide was prepared for prosecutors and police with respect to prosecuting fines. In hindsight, that document was poorly worded.
The force has confirmed that it has issued 40,000 fines for blatant, deliberate or repeated breaches. The memo gave the impression most of those cases should result in cautions rather than fines or court action.
You shouldn't have to issue fines. You know, people should know and understand that they benefit. They benefit in many different ways by what we've built and safeguarding that.
There have been calls for the more than 8,000 COVID fines already paid to be refunded, but that won't be an option. Refugee activists fined and charged over a protest on Good Friday will pursue their cases.
The police were very aggressive in their policing of us. I got fined in a car park, distance away from other cars.
The Police Association was concerned that any wiped fines would make enforcing any future orders more difficult. 2,500 COVID breach cases are before the courts.
So has there been any shift at all, any less of a priority put on pursuing those matters?
None whatsoever.
Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
I don't see why.
2 hotel quarantine staff members have been cleared of COVID after a scare. A nurse and a police officer working at the Holiday Inn Hot Hotel initially returned positive swabs, but subsequent tests were negative. Health officials are confident the first results were false positives. A man is accused of murdering his brother in a violent attack southeast of Melbourne. Cassie Zervos is in Hastings this evening. And Cassie, this tragedy appears to be the result of a family feud.
Well, Mitch, the 7 News understands the brothers had been estranged for some time and may have been fighting over drugs. Police spent hours searching for the suspect before they received a tip-off, which led them to finding him hiding in a garden shed. In a mask and handcuffs and showing no emotion, Jesse Tovey is accused of murdering his brother. He was arrested inside his friend's shed 8 hours after sibling Joshua was fatally stabbed. The 29-year-old managed to stumble 300 metres before he collapsed in a shopping strip. Jess Creswell told 7 News Jesse Tovey came to her for help, saying there'd been a fight.
He asked if we could have a coffee and a shower.
She broke the news that his brother was dead.
He was just in shock, like he didn't think that it was that serious.
Police remained at several crime scenes throughout the day.
It's not something you'd expect. It's normally a nice little shopping centre here.
It's horrid. It's absolutely horrid. This was a beautiful place to live. It's not so beautiful anymore.
Jesse Tovey is tonight being questioned by homicide detectives, his father dealing with the death of one son and the arrest of another. Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A grass fire has closed the Calder freeway between Wood End and Kyneton. The blaze has been downgraded from watch and act, but firefighters remain on the scene tonight, making the area safe. Experts are predicting Australia's economy is poised for a once-in-a-generation fight-back after being hit by a COVID sledgehammer. While the pandemic-induced scars will linger, economists have labelled 2021 the year of recovery.
Like so many small businesses, COVID almost drove Michael Laidler's patisserie to the wall.
It hasn't been easy, to say the least.
But the future is looking sweeter.
2020 was a shocker, but 2021 is a recovery year.
The road ahead heavily dependent on an effective vaccine rollout, keeping the virus under control, ensuring state borders remain mostly open, and the resumption of international travel.
You wouldn't want to be in any other country in the world but Australia.
But the scars from the pandemic won't fade quickly. Deloitte Access Economics forecasting unemployment will continue to fall, but not to pre-pandemic levels until 2024. And those who do have a job could be waiting until 2025 for a pay rise.
There's no decent recovery without a recovery in wages. It's as simple as that.
Interest rates are expected to remain at record lows. Inflation not predicted to start climbing again until 2023.
We know the road ahead will be bumpy. There will be challenges.
One of the biggest, the resumption of international travel. Countries expected to start opening borders by the end of this year, although normal global movements not likely until 2024. COVID delivered the Australian economy the biggest shock it's had in 100 years. And if history is anything to go by, the bigger the downturn, the bigger the recovery.
This glass is more than half full and it's continuing to fill pretty fast.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
Some of Australia's biggest music stars are launching a concert blitz across Victoria in a bid to kickstart an industry decimated by COVID. Tones and I, Jimmy Barnes, Daryl Braithwaite and Missy Higgins are among the major draw cards.
People in other states are realising what we went through for all those months. But we are back and music's back.
Ticket prices are capped at just $49.90 across the 8 days of shows later this month. Locations include Malakuta, the Surf Coast and the Yarra Valley. The new Biden administration is expecting America's COVID death toll to climb above 500,000 just weeks after it takes office. The incoming president is now 2.5 days away from being sworn in, with an inauguration ceremony unlike any before it.
The transition is on. A removalist at the White House today. Banners for a new presidential team, the stage in place. But the party is off.
We're begging you to listen. We don't want a war. We don't want people to die. We don't want violence.
In many US state capitals today and the national capital, a reversal of the recent anarchy. Security far outnumbered supporters of the soon-to-be ex-President Donald Trump.
I never thought I would see that in our own capital or that it would be necessary, but there is a profound threat from domestic violent extremists.
17,000 police and soldiers are already in Washington.
I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like this.
The stage is now set for an inauguration like no other, without the people. Washington Centre is now so locked down, it's almost completely devoid of traffic and left to a handful of pedestrians.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear.
The Biden plan, a world apart from inaugurations like John F. Kennedy's 60 years ago this week.
The torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans.
Violence stirred by the latest passing of the torch, now under FBI investigation. It's believed to be checking if foreign governments or groups gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to back leaders of the attack on Congress.
We've seen the most divisive 4 years in over a century from President Trump.
President-elect Biden's chief of staff says the new White House team will inherit a huge mess and warns the country's COVID death toll will climb far higher.
I certainly expect we will hit 500,000 deaths sometime in the month of February.
In Washington, D.C., Tim Lester, 7 News.
Victoria has the most people in the nation on the waiting list for high needs in-home aged care. In total, close to 100,000 Australians are on the waiting list. 27,000 of those are here in Victoria. Some elderly Australians are waiting for nearly 3 years for high-level care. There's been a happy ending to a double drama for a Bentley family. After an out-of-control car demolished part of their home, their terrified dog bolted and was on the run for hours.
A little dog gone, no more.
We got him!
Vic, the Italian greyhound, back in his owner's arms after a 9-hour nightmare.
He's good. He's hungry. Hungry and tired.
His ordeal started when a speeding Audi ploughed through the front wall of the Bujaya family's Bentley home. The driver and passenger took off, and so did Vic, whose bed was in the room.
We've been out since 3 a.m. looking for him, so a long night.
Police were on double duty, searching for Vic and the human fugitives from the Audi.
No one's seen them at all, so we have no description of them.
Young owner Bella finally spotted the pup running scared several kilometres away on the busy Nepean highway. He was lucky to escape injury, as was the family.
There was kids normally asleep in that front room and they weren't there on this occasion.
The priority for the rest of the day?
Probably hugging him.
Kate Jones, 7 News.
Tim Watson is back with us now, and Tim, the Australians will be praying Brisbane's stormy skies clear tomorrow.
That's right, Mitch. If it stays dry, the fourth test will go down to the wire on the final day. Steve Smith posted a half-century today to help the Aussies to a lead of 327 before rain brought an end to the day's play. Plus, Ash Barty out in action today. We'll tell you why it's advantage Aussies. And the legendary Tom Brady has done it again. Mitch, I'll be back with all that and more soon.
Good to have you back, Tim. We'll see you then.
Good to be back.
Thank you. Next, a heart-wrenching tribute to a hero teacher from Melbourne's southeast. She drowned trying to save a teenager in trouble at Venus Bay.
We'd rather her be a coward than be here with me.
Also, Australians have their say on how to celebrate our National Day. 3 people dead, 1 fighting for life after a horror head-on. A cyclone just hours away from hitting Queensland, the latest coming up live from the storm zone. And the children's playpens that parents are being told to avoid. Everything you need to know in a special report later.
And I had a dream that someday I would just fly, fly away, away, oh.
Escape into a new year with Home and Away. Starts Feb 1 on 7.
Another saving on the latest tech from eBay. It's a new smartphone.
I love modern day tech. Makes life so much easier. Excuse me.
Now this is a story all about how fast food got flipped, turned upside down. I took one huge bite of that foot-long bread and said, yo, skip the grease and eat fresh instead.
Some popular cereals contain over 25% sugar. That's more than a quarter of the cereal. Luckily, Weet-Bix is low in sugar, it's full of whole grain goodness and extra yum with a twist. Just add fruit, nuts and seeds. For a better brekkie, it's gotta be Weet-Bix.
Sometimes, even the best tenants can cause damage to your investment property that standard building insurance may not cover. Terry Shear, Australia's leading landlord insurance specialist, provides the cover you need for your property and rental income. Have confidence that your investment property is in safe hands.
My property portfolio is protected by Terry Shear. I wouldn't trust anyone else.
Call Terry Shear or go online.
Not too far from where you are, there's a place where soul, soil and hands craft a rare magic, and life's simplest pleasures bubble to the surface. Stay close, go further.
To dream big, our kids need the best start in life. So the Victorian Government is investing almost $5 billion over the decade to deliver 3-year-old kinder, creating more than 6,000 new teaching jobs across the state. If you're looking for a new career or to upskill, now's the time to enrol, with financial support available to study. Learn more at vic.gov.au/kinder. 3-year-old kinder. Best start, best life. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Now this is a story all about how fast food got flipped, turned upside down. I took one huge bite of that foot-long bread and said, yo, skip the grease and eat fresh instead.
The art of the light lunch. Step 1. Open Hans lunch plate with crackers, relish, cheese and delicious meat. Step 2. Eat it? A simple yet lavish light lunch. Hans.
It's actually Hans.
A Rowville teacher is being remembered as a selfless hero after rescuing 2 people from the surf at Venus Bay. Her grieving family says she'll never be forgotten after sacrificing her own life to save them.
Lisa Mandeltort died a hero, but for her partner, that's cold comfort.
I would rather her be a coward and be here with me.
Lisa didn't hesitate trying to rescue a father and his 14-year-old daughter struggling in the surf at Venus Bay, but she paid with her life.
It's the quiet moments where you're like, this is life now, and it sucks.
The 29-year-old from Rowville was a popular science teacher at Berwick's Nossal High School, always thinking of others before herself.
She was so amazing this last year. It was just, as a critical care nurse, it's been a very stressful environment, and she'd always call up and see how I was going.
She was a high achiever, and I hope her kids try and remember that and try to help achieve for her sake.
And with another scorching weekend ahead, lifesavers are concerned there could be more tragedies in the water and are urging all Victorians to take care.
Drownings are largely preventable. We really do want to encourage people to just be aware of those dangers before they head out to the coast.
Lisa's family now hoping her loss will remind others to take more care.
I'm proud, but I'm sad that she's gone.
Life is really, really bad now, and that's just what every day is now.
Georgia Comensoli, 7 News.
There's a new show of support for keeping Australia Day on January the 26th. The annual debate is expected to flare again ahead of next week's national public holiday. A survey conducted by the Institute of Public Affairs shows more than 2/3 of Australians support keeping our national day where it is. Just 11% are in favour of changing the date. 3 people are dead and another is fighting for life after a head-on crash in the New South Wales Hunter Valley. A local rideshare driver was taking a couple home from a night out when his car and a ute collided, killing him and his female passenger. Her husband is in hospital with critical injuries. The 34-year-old ute driver also died. Far north Queensland is on alert as Cyclone Kimmy intensifies to a Category 2 storm. Georgie Chumley is in Townsville this evening, and Georgie, no one's quite sure when this cyclone will make landfall.
That's exactly right. That's if it crosses the coast at all. At the moment, Kimmy has been incredibly unpredictable and her track is changing by the hour. But the Bureau says right now that they're planning on her tracking south off the coast past Townsville, weakening, then doing a U-turn and tracking north as a tropical low. Now, many regions here in far north Queensland are already saturated after weeks of rain. Some locations have already received a metre of rain since Christmas. And the fear is that hundreds of millimetres of rain will cut off small communities and roads and railways. But emergency services here, they are prepared for this. SES have been called in, as well as a winch chopper is on standby. So we're not out of the woods just yet. Some people think we've dodged a bullet, but Kimmy could still make landfall tonight.
Georgie Chumley in Townsville, thank you. Jane Bunn joins us now, and Jane, our weather's not quite as dramatic, thankfully.
Exactly. Winds gusted at 70 k's an hour on the bay today, but it is double that up in the cyclone. We had another grey morning across Melbourne and the suburbs, but the cloud broke up and the afternoon was sunny. The city peaked at 22.6. The wind changed mid-afternoon, so the temperature dropped once again, even though the sky remained clear. In January, we averaged 26 degrees. We've now had 5 days in a row of below average temperatures. There is one more cool day to come tomorrow, then a whole new weather pattern begins. This time it is a stretch of warm to hot weather. I'll have the full details after sport, Mitch.
Keeping us on our toes as usual. Thank you, Jane. Melbourne house prices are going through a surge. They've just had a big jump, but there's more to come. According to the Reserve Bank, the details are ahead. Also, why the Kremlin critic who survived a poison attack was arrested within minutes of returning to Moscow. Richard Branson's dream finally becomes a reality as a 747 launches a rocket into orbit. And the legendary rock and roll pioneer who became a killer dies of COVID.
Seven News brought to you by Officeworks.
It's almost back to school time, but they're excited.
It's almost back to school time.
Bet they're excited.
With low prices and great savings, get ready for the best back to school ever at Officeworks.
My masterpiece!
Oh, wow.
Hi, I'm Greg Norman. We're letting a bunch of Aussies loose on the world's most epic golf course designed by yours truly. Slap-a-ding-a-doo. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Holy moly! Extreme family fun starts Feb 1 on 7.
Victoria, every test we take
Helps us protect everything we've achieved.
And keeps us safe.
Every test helps us feel sure about that sniffle.
Keep catching up with mates. Go to work safely.
And keep doing the things we love.
So even if your symptoms are mild
or you've been tested before,
every test helps.
For testing locations, visit coronavirus.vic.gov.au.
Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Say hello to weight loss success with Jenny Craig.
Now it's even easier to reach your weight loss goals with Jenny Craig.
Start today with our free 8-week membership, plus free delivery, cost of food additional.
So call Jenny Craig now.
iSelect can't help with your naked partner walking past your big presentation, but we could help shrink your electricity and internet bills while you're stuck at home. Compare, select and save with iSelect.
The Nick Scali January sale is on now. Our biggest sale of the year with savings across a huge range of quality furniture. The Nick Scali January sale on now.
This summer, give breakfast a healthy twist with fresh ideas from Woolworths, like overnight summer oats and fresh stone fruit with macro organic rolled oats 500 grams, dropped to just $2.75. For more fresh ideas, visit woolworths.com.au.
We're announcing something big. The big deal is now on at Mazda, and we're putting value on 2020 plate vehicles front and centre, like CX-5 Max from $32,990 drive away. Search Mazda offers today.
Why should Polly want a cracker when he can have so much more? Play the undoing. See ya. Foxtel, now with voice control.
Did someone say KFC?
I don't care. I love
Melbourne's property prices have recorded their biggest surge in more than 20 years. Low interest rates and high demand following lockdown are being credited for the price jump that shows no sign of slowing.
Lois Cook has lived in this Balwyn home for almost 20 years. She sold it on Christmas Eve. It was on the market less than a week.
I was very surprised that it went so quickly, but this is not an ordinary market.
It's a market fuelled by the fear of missing out. Melbourne's median house price rose by almost 10% in the last 3 months of 2020, the biggest jump in 2 decades.
We had probably 30 to 40% of a downturn in stock levels through COVID.
It's pushed people to make decisions, so push them to make a decision about buying a property.
Malvern East had the biggest rise, up 28.5%. Government incentives and record low interest rates creating perfect buying conditions,
which saw a lot of people come back into the marketplace.
Along with Malvern East, there were also strong surges in the north and in Blue Ribbon eastern suburbs, as well as sea change spots Mount Eliza and Sorrento.
Median house prices over a short period really should be taken with a grain of salt. You really need to assess things over a longer period of time.
These figures come as the Reserve Bank predicts house prices could rise by 30% over the next 3 years if interest rates remain so low. Melbourne prices likely to keep rising, but at a slower rate this year.
I would expect in this first half of the year that we're probably going to see increases of 5 to 10%.
The prices will remain quite steady throughout 2021.
Louisa Cheatley, 7 News.
The Russian political leader who survived an assassination attempt has returned home to Moscow only to be arrested. Alexei Navalny was taken into custody within minutes of touching down, sparking an international backlash.
In a Moscow airport, Alexei Navalny kisses his wife Yulia goodbye before being detained.
Удачи, Алексей!
Led away minutes after arriving, telling supporters he fears nothing. Vladimir Putin's fiercest critic returning to Russia defiant despite an attempt on his life. In August last year, Navalny fell ill on a flight in Siberia. He was sent to Germany, where authorities discovered he'd been poisoned with the nerve agent Novichok. He blames the Kremlin for trying to kill him. Investigative journalists have uncovered evidence backing it up, but Putin denies any involvement. Navalny's plane from Berlin was due to arrive at this Moscow airport, where thousands of supporters had gathered to welcome him home. Dozens were arrested by riot police, and his plane redirected. Authorities say he was arrested for violating the conditions of a suspended sentence, but ultimately his destiny is up to President Putin, who says if Russian security forces wanted Navalny dead, they would have finished the job. In London, Sarah Greenolge, 7 News.
A group of migrants bound for the US has been beaten back by security forces in Guatemala. Around 3,000 Honduras nationals were met with tear gas, batons and stun grenades aimed at stopping them reaching the Mexican border. They're fleeing poverty and violence in a region hammered by the pandemic and hurricanes. And Virgin Orbit has successfully completed its first space mission, launching a rocket from beneath the wing of a Boeing 747. The rocket, named Launcher 1, is carrying 10 tiny satellites into orbit for NASA. Legendary 60s music producer Phil Spector has died from COVID complications. The man credited with changing the sound of rock and roll had spent most of the last 2 decades behind bars, convicted of murder, and was just 3 years away from parole.
The music mastermind behind some of the world's most played songs.
Bring back that love and feeling.
whose life ended in prison, a convicted killer. In 60s California, producer Phil Spector became a one-man hit factory. Hailed for his studio's signature wall of sound, adding layers of instruments, echo, for a sound as big or even bigger than the singer. But he was also known for an erratic temper, heavy drinking. There were allegations of violence and abuse. Long after his star had faded, he was convicted of murdering actress Lana Clarkson, found shot dead in his LA mansion in 2003.
The actions of the Hitler-like district attorney and his stormtrooping henchmen to seek an indictment against me.
Spector had claimed it was suicide. After a second trial, he was sentenced to 19 years jail. He was taken to hospital on New Year's Eve after contracting COVID-19. As notorious as he was influential, Phil Spector was 81. Paul Caddack, 7 News.
A Child Care First is set to bring the old and the young together. It'll bring 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds face to face with the elderly. The details are next. Also, why COVID is responsible for a cat crisis. 5 workers accused of stealing 600 kilograms of salmon a day, 250 tonnes all up. And the popular playpens putting children's lives at risk. That's coming up after sport.
Mayday! The firefighter's trapped! Let's get him to the hospital! Right down now!
Put your game face on.
The entire season of Station 19 streaming for free on 7+.
At Bet365, we're always innovating, creative. It's this constant pursuit of perfection that brought you Bet Builder, Match Live, alerts, and live streaming. It's the reason we're the world's favorite online betting company.
Gamble responsibly.
Happy birthday!
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Help take care of your family with Medibank Life Insurance. Apply for cover up to $2.5 million, depending on age and income.
Victoria, every test we take
helps us keep catching up with mates.
Woo!
And keep doing the things we love. For testing locations, visit coronavirus.vic.gov.au.
Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Come on, everybody, clap your hands. Come on, let's twist again, like we did that summer. Yeah, let's twist again, like we did that year. Do you remember when things were really humming? Yeah, let's twist again.
Give your summer a healthy twist with fresh ideas from Woolworths.
2020. It made us stay true to what we're really for. We're for not letting anything stop them getting the early learning they deserve. We're Good Start. We're not for profit, so we can do more for children.
Each day I pray for evening just to be.
Welcome home.
At Nick Scali, the Moosa 3-seater leather lounge was $29.80, now $16.90. This sleek leather lounge now $16.90. The Nick Scali January sale on now.
And take my money!
Stranded Victorians are finally on their way home from Sydney tonight. They're flying to Melbourne after the border rules were relaxed at 6 p.m. for a large part of the city.
Oh my gosh, so happy. Well, I'd already gotten an exemption,
So just the zone change means that I can just get a test, which is really good.
We call ourselves COVID refugees now, trying to avoid hotspots.
Some parts of Sydney's west and southwest, though, remain red zones. 5 people have been arrested after allegedly stealing around 250 tonnes of salmon from a Sydney processing plant. The worker's boss became suspicious and an internal investigation revealed around 600 kilograms of fish was going missing every day. They've been charged with defrauding the company of salmon worth around $4 million. A new trend in childcare is turning back time for an older generation. Another daycare centre is to be combined with a Melbourne aged care home, mixing the joy of youth with the wisdom of experience.
Young children can learn so much from the young at heart.
How are you, darling? Hey? How's life?
What an intergenerational program does is that it lessens anxiety in children, it increases their confidence, it also increases their empathy in interactions.
A new daycare and kindergarten will be built as part of Mornington's Andrew Kerr Aged Care Facility. The elderly residents will participate in arts and crafts, music and gardening for an hour each day, benefiting young and old.
Children have benefited from increased language skills, understanding a different population, a different time.
The children helping their elderly educators wind back the clock.
Any stage when the residents are feeling lonely, they can come into the residents' lounge and overlook the play spaces and hear the children laughing. 66 placements will be available in the $1.2 million centre. The state government is investing $500,000 in the centre. Construction is due to begin in February, with the kinder program expected to be up and running by mid-year.
Good boy.
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
Fantastic idea. There's a cat crisis at Melbourne's Lost Dogs Home. Close to 800 are now looking for homes after the COVID lockdown led to a stray cat population explosion. With council trapping programs suspended, many moggies have been left to multiply. The shelter is now offering cut-price adoption fees to try to find as many homes as possible. Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, the rain has wreaked havoc again at the Gabba.
Yes, Mitch, just as India's run chase began, and they've been set a huge target too for victory. Details up next on a day where the Aussie openers got off to a flyer but fell short once again. The Roos talking tough, looking to bring back the shinboner spirit. Aussie tennis stars find a new home court advantage, and Tom Brady gets no love in the playoffs, while another star quarterback is left dazed and confused.
Get away from the water! Get away from the water!
911, what is your emergency?
The dam broke.
Help! 911, the mudslide, coming to Mondays on 7.
Sometimes the long way is the best way.
Buy a new Subaru and get an Accor Hotels travel pack worth up to $1,200 of value. So when it's safe to do so, you can love the long way.
Early Settlers Big Sale just got bigger. Up to 30% off our comfy sofas. Up to 40% off bedroom. Buy the chairs and get the table half price. Buy one table lamp and get one free. Outdoor furniture up to 30% off. Early Settlers Big Sale is now on.
The Nick Scali January sale is on now. Save up to 50% off a huge range of quality furniture. Up to 50% off. The Nick Scali January sale on now.
Breeze through summer with Australia's biggest fan and exterior sale at Beacon. Shop our huge range of fans plus exciting new designs with 30% off your second fan or exterior item. Sale ends next Sunday.
Good evening. A great time to go Dodo, because it always is. See, we're an energy company that chips in for your internet with unlimited NBN plans now from just $55 a month when you combine with energy. Time to go Dodo.com.
A lot of us are spending more time at home.
Ow.
Using a lot more electricity and internet. Unfortunately, iSelect can't help with your naked partner walking past your big presentation. But we could help shrink those household bills. Now's the time to compare, select and save with iSelect on 13 19 20.
Now more than ever, Come From Away. The Comedy Theatre's most successful musical returns in January. Forever a hit and a masterpiece. New January seats on sale at comefromaway.com.au.
Pretty soon, the amount of super paid on top of our wages will go up. And up. And up. And up. All the way to 12% guaranteed. That extra money will make a big difference when I retire, put my feet up. You see, your future is even more super.
This Sport Report brought to you by Industry Super Funds.
Welcome back. Tim Payne will spend the night praying for Brisbane's stormy skies to clear. The Aussie skipper stalled over a declaration on day 4. Now his bowlers are racing time and weather to take the Border Gavaskar Trophy back from India.
Coach Langer knew the urgency and has the perfect man for it.
And away he goes.
David Warner, with an opening partner trying to secure his place.
There's no doubt that there's a touch of class about Marcus Harris.
They put on 89, kept Marnus waiting, but Warner still hobbled and Harris still unconvincing.
Little glum on the way through.
Sundar added Warner to a stellar debut. His first home summer without a 50. The Aussies kept the pedal down but lost Labuschagne for 25.
Oh, is the action gone?
Wade for a duck, and only 156 behind. Victory was still within reach for India. Smith and Green catches weren't for Mohammad Siraj.
Turn chance.
But the young quick made amends.
That's a big wicket for India.
Smith for 55, exposing demons to make the Aussie pacemen salivate.
They're the deliveries that break your thumb.
Still, before Green and Payne departed, a record Gabba chase was set, 276 ahead, when Rain beat Australia to tea and a declaration. The Brains Trust had an hour delay to decide how much and how long was enough. Stark came and went. Payne still pondered. Lyon had a lash.
And now he's caught.
Still, the skipper was unmoved until Hazelwood took it out of his hands.
And in the air and taken down.
A deserved 5 for Siraj, leaving India 328 to win. A day and a bit for 10 wickets, weather permitting.
Starkey's a little bit grumpy.
They didn't get through 2 overs.
Disappointed there's a bit of rain falling, but that's what happens. We can't do that. It's out of our control.
But a special series will finish with a nail-biter tomorrow. Matt Carmichael, 7 News. The Melbourne Stars have jumped to 3rd on the Big Bash ladder with an injury scare to Andre Fletcher. Sam Harper smashed 63 runs to help the Renegades to 150, with the Stars doing everything they could to put a stop to him. But the Spice Man, Fletcher, was dealt the biggest blow. He played on in pain after being struck on the wrist, but scans cleared him of any fracture. The Stars home by 6 wickets with 5 balls to spare.
Game over.
Guys dealing with form, injuries and all that sort of stuff. So we've just had to find a way and sort of scrape through, and to be back home and starting to get a bit of a run is a really nice thing for us.
They'll face off again on Wednesday night at Marvel Stadium. Tomorrow night the Scorchers and the Heat go head-to-head at Marvel. It's the first sporting event at Docklands since July. And while most tennis stars are in quarantine ahead of the Australian Open, it's business as usual for many of our Aussie players. Andrew McCormack is live at Melbourne Park. And Andrew, it's a new form of home ground advantage.
Well, Tim Ash Barty and John Millman, just a couple of the big-name Aussie stars currently enjoying unrestricted movement around Melbourne as some of their international rivals are stuck in hotel quarantine. They do need to stay away from Melbourne Park. They're not allowed on court there. So it was Xavier College in queue for the world #1. She's been in Melbourne for a couple of weeks, so that's where she do most of her training for the next fortnight. Just up the road in Kooyong, John Millman, who drove down from Canberra yesterday with fellow Aussie James Duckworth. He was on court alongside Thanasi Kokonakis and Alex Bolt. Millman, of course, a member of the ATP Player Council, so he'll no doubt be involved in these ongoing discussions with Craig Tiley and the state governments as they try and sort through this COVID chaos. No practice for Alex de Minaur, our number one ranked male, was all dressed up and nowhere to go. He's just returned in hotel quarantine from Turkey. His practice, along with all the other hotel quarantiners, was cancelled today at Melbourne Park. Only in the last couple of hours have players actually arrived on the outside courts here at Melbourne Park, which has actually been declared a red zone, so heavy PPE for all officials that need to be here. Police actually patrolling the perimeter here at Melbourne Park, so it's a far cry from what is usually called the Happy Slam to start the year, Tim.
Thanks, Mako. North Melbourne defender Luke McDonald isn't content with one best and fairest. He wants more silverware. McDonald is stepping up pre-season training, ready to add more punch to his footy resume.
Certainly I'm not resting on my laurels. I know I really want to keep improving and try to be one of the best defenders in the competition, to be honest. So, yeah, I know that it's easy to have one good year.
New coach David Noble was there too, watching the boys go through their paces. Giant star Britt Stack is out of hospital after a sickening injury in an AFLW practice match. The 34-year-old fractured her C7 vertebrae, but thankfully doctors have confirmed the fracture is stable. She won't have to have surgery, although the Irish woman will need to wear a neck brace in the short term. Legendary quarterback Tom Brady has guided his Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a 30-20 win over New Orleans.
Tom Brady has got the touchdown on the carry from just outside the 1.
The referee clearly not impressed, though. He's now one win away from a 10th Super Bowl appearance, while Drew Brees is set to announce his retirement. Kansas City survived a huge scare, though, against Cleveland to keep their quest for back-to-back Super Bowls alive. They lost their star quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, to concussion. Backup Chad Henne got the Chiefs home 22-17. And Mitch, if you thought Tom Brady was already special, check out this after the game. As Drew Brees was enjoying a moment with his family on the field, in comes Brady to say goodbye, and he threw one last pass too for the day to Brees' eager son, a touchdown pass to the ultimate respect. Just a couple of fathers just out there having a fun old time with their boys.
He's a class act, isn't he?
He is, indeed.
Fantastic. Good on you, Tim. Great to have you back. Thank you. An alarming number of babies' playpens have been found with potentially deadly design flaws. Half of the popular products tested by Choice failed basic safety requirements.
No mandatory safety standards in Australia has manufacturers getting away with this.
There's a risk of a child's head getting stuck in these holes. This gate is too easy to open. This playpen has structural issues and it also represents entrapment risk.
Choice tested 12 new playpens.
We use these probes to check for a child's head or their limbs to be able to see if they would get it trapped in these holes.
6 brands, half of those tested, failed. Goop Amiga Safety Playpen 14 panels multiple classic model scored just 34%, as did Tobby with 8 panels and gate. Cuddly Baby and Baby Care 33%. Komodo Indoor-Outdoor Kids Playpen Instant Setup and Nanny Annie Interactive Block Style with door model failed miserably, just 20%.
Amazon have removed the Goop Amiga from sale and we're really glad to see that they've recognised Choice's safety tests.
Choice recommends only 2, the Kmart Anko and Dream Baby Royale Converter 3-in-1s. They're more secure. Go to our website for Choice's full review. Helen Wellings, 7 News.
Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, it's another cool one tomorrow.
Mitch, it is indeed, but it is our last cool one in this stretch. After that, it turns warm, then hot. The full forecast is next.
When no one is who they seem,
I cannot accept what we did.
could you see through their lies? Foyle's War, tonight on 7/2.
The art of the light lunch. Step 1. Open Hans lunch plate with crackers, relish, cheese and delicious meat. Step 2. Eat it? A simple yet lavish light lunch. Hans.
It's actually Hans.
Introducing Light and Easy's new Jumpstart Plus. Jumpstart Plus combines the proven weight loss results of intermittent eating with Light and Easy's delicious summer menu, plus a new app to track your success and help you achieve your goals.
Every week I've consistently lost weight, and the new Jumpstart program really kick-started that for me.
Light and Easy made it pretty easy for me to lose it. I didn't have to think about it. The weight just kept dropping off.
Fast track your weight loss success in 2021 with Light and Easy's new Jumpstart Plus. Jump online today.
There are many ways to collaborate online, but if you need to do it safely, privately, and securely, there's WebEx.
Let's get to work. James Jacks, will you look at that?
I told you to pay attention to the road.
Clearly this wasn't my fault. Maybe not, but you've taken a wrong turn on this one. Your insurance policy is monstrous.
You know, if you had Budget Direct car insurance, you'd get a hire car while yours gets repaired. And you could save hundreds.
Are we there yet?
Not at fault. Get a hire car while yours gets repaired. Just give us the other driver's details. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Sam is fearless at studying tiger sharks. Just don't ask him to fix a leaking tap. It's amazing what you can't do. Task smarter.
Airtasker.
Hi, thanks for calling HIF. You're speaking to HIF. What does HIF stand for? Great Value Health Cover. Oh, you mean the letters. The Health Insurance Fund of Australia. Yeah, we've been around for over 65 years. And that's human years, not dog years. Never mind. Now, can I fetch you a quote?
Discover the art of simplicity at the King's Summer Sale. Save up to 50% on Australian design. So why buy ordinary furniture when you can come home to King? Sale ends soon.
It's the Thunder v the Hurricanes at Manuka Oval. Big game from a ladder perspective for the Hobart Hurricanes tonight, Lisa Stalaker.
Yeah, they're coming up against the side playing at home, sitting 7th at the moment. They need to climb really quickly.
Some superstars on both sides of the table. Will Darcy short, keep rolling. Great to see Daniel Sams back. The first ball's not too far away.
This weather report is brought to you by the King Summer Sale. Ends soon.
Hello again. Another cool change arrived this afternoon. So we reached 23 at 2:30 p.m. Then it dropped back down into the high teens. Outside now it is 18 degrees. A few spots reached 25 all through the northwest and across to Watsonia. It was cooler all day near the coast. Clouds stretched across the southwestern half of the state at first, then gradually retreated back down to the coast. But it didn't completely clear, and that'll push across the south once again tonight. Whenever a high sits back over the Bight, we have cool southerly winds. There's one last cold front to move on past, so there it goes. Then that high can come in. Now, once it does, we warm up. The latest on Cyclone Kimmy has her as a Category 2 just off the coast near Cardwell. Guidance shows the system may remain just off the coast. That means destructive winds continue for several days in these areas marked here. Now, it is only after the cyclone moves inland or away that it can all finally calm down. And here, the white line is one possible path. Back home, when that high moves across on Wednesday, we warm up. Northern Victoria is set for a few days of hot weather, while it is a bit milder in the south. But that heat is likely to spread right through on Sunday. Extreme heat in the north and around 40 for much of the south. While the east, north and west of the nation has rain in the next week, we miss out. We may need to wait more than a week for our next proper drop. Around the nation tomorrow, further showers and thunderstorms around Brisbane, but it shouldn't be wet all through. At least some cricket should go ahead. Sydney has a change to gusty winds and passing showers. Lots of sunshine in Adelaide, warming up to 29. It's 36 in Perth, their last hot day in this stretch. To Victoria, cloudy across the south at first with isolated showers. That clears out to sunshine, but the cloud does last longest in the southern parts of Gippsland and the far southeast. Sunny all day across the north. Closer in, we have cloud once again for the morning tomorrow, slowly clearing to sunshine. It takes longest in the south. It is cooler than today's top temperatures. The city only reaches 19. A cloudy morning, then a sunny afternoon. Now, there may be a spit of rain early in the morning, but after that, There is no wet weather at all until this time next week, and it is generally sunny all the way through too. Here are our temperatures: up to 25 on Wednesday, 32 on Thursday. There is a weak cool change at night, but it's not very strong. Back down to 27 for Friday, 30 on Saturday, and then right up to 38, possibly 40 degrees on Sunday. A very hot night follows. The cool change is due on Monday morning. So we are a top of 19 for tomorrow. It's our last cool day in this stretch. Grey in the morning, but the bright afternoon sunshine sounds nice, Mitch.
A fine day in Brisbane tomorrow, please, Jane. If you could pull a few strings, that'd be good.
It'd be nice if the showers and storms stay away.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 18th of January. Thanks for your company. The Big Bash is next. For now, from the news team, good night.